You're welcome to this afternoon's presentation. My name is Seth Ogodako, and I will introduce the members of my group. On my immediate left, we have Mr. Manju, followed by Mr. Pranav, followed by Mr. Arifan, and then finally we have Rashid. Now we are presenting microcredit. That's the topic of our presentation. It's going to take just 15 minutes of your time. Now, why microcredit? It's very, very important because of this day and age, where we have economic downturn, we have inflation problem, interest rate problems. So basically there is a wide gap between the rich and the poor. And we as MBA students, what value do we bring to the table? We think that this topic is probably the best topic that each and every one of us need to take advantage of, because we'll be able to help the poor in our society, in our communities, and in our country as a whole. That is why we say this topic is very, very important to you. We implore you to pay attention because you gain a lot from this topic. I'll quickly take you through the menu and who is doing what. Now we start with microcredit. Mr. Manju will be taking you through microcredit. Basically, he's going to tell you all about microcredit. Now that will be followed by Grameen Bank. That will be done by Mr. Pranav. He will just be telling you the relationship between microcredit and Grameen Bank, for example. And then followed by cultural analysis. That will be handled by Mr. Basically, he's looking at two continents. He's looking at the Asia continent and the African continent, and to see whether microcredit will be successful in any of these continents. And then finally, Mr. Rashid will take you through why microcredit implementation in Africa. Now, looking at comparing the cultural similarities between Asia and Africa, for example, he will be looking at whether this project will be successful in Africa, for example. We implore you to pay attention as they come and present. Mr. Manju will take you through the first presentation. Mr. Manju.
Thank you, Seth. Good afternoon. I'll be talking about microcredit. So let's start. So what is microcredit? Well, micro means small and credit means loan. So giving out a small loan is microcredit. In microcredit, we're talking about the loan in the range of $50 to $300. Well, it might seem insignificant for few, but trust me, it's significant for poor people. So who is this microcredit is for? This is for the poor people. So this is for the people who are below the poverty line. These are the people who doesn't have a collateral, who doesn't have an employment, and who doesn't have a credit history. So these people, they can't get loan from the traditional banks. So the main belief of microcredit is that these are poor people, they lack money, but they don't lack the skills. This is the main belief on which the microcredit works. Now, a brief history of microcredit. Well, microcredit existed from 18th century in different parts of the world. It existed in a small scale, but the major attention it has got after its success in Bangladesh from a bank known as Grameen Bank. So what's the need for microcredit? Well, we feel it's our social responsibility to help the poor people. So we have two options to help the poor people. One is a charity and another is a loan. So let's consider charity. So what will happen when you give out a free money at charity? So these poor people, they take the money, they go back, they spend it, and they'll come back to you again. So you're trying to create a dependency with charity. Now let's consider loan. So in the loan, you give the money, but with the condition that it has to be paid back. So when there's a condition that it has to be paid back, they understand the value of the money. So with microcredit, you're trying to create the independence, the economic independence among the poor people. So that's the best part of microcredit. Now, who started this? Well, it's been implemented successfully in Bangladesh by a person known as Dr. Muhammad Yunus. He started a small bank called Grameen Bank in 1970s, and it has been successful till today. And my colleague Mr. Pranav will talk more on Grameen Bank later in the session. Now the question is this microcredit only for the developing countries? Well, the answer is no. The strongest economy of the world, US, even that has poor people. the recent statistics show that around 12% of the people in US are below poverty line. So this microcredit has been implemented in 2008 in the United States. Now let's see how the microcredit works in detail and also about the Grameen Bank. My Pranav is going to take you through that part.
Thank you, Manjunath, for your valuable information on what microcredit is. Now let us see how microcredit works. At the inception, 5 prospective borrowers are initially formed, and these are mainly the women. What happens? The microcredit has 2 stages. First stage of the microcredit and the second stage of the microcredit. In the first stage of the microcredit, only the 2 borrowers of a group, as they borrow the money, and this group is observed by other 3 members of a group. And these people make sure that they meet the requirements of the group. And the second stage of the microcredit says that only if the 2 borrowers start to repay the principal amount and the interest over the period of 6 weeks, then the other 3 people are eligible to receive a loan. How? Because of these restrictions, it gives immense pressure to keep the individual records very clear. And in this sense, collective responsibility of a group acts as a collateral for a loan. According to Manju has already said that the trust is the only collateral used in the microcredit. Loan. Loans are small. We are speaking about a loan which ranges from $50 to $300. This is very sufficient to start our own business or be a micro-entrepreneur or buy machines like rice husking or machine repairing or buying a pottery, clothes, etc. And the most significant of the microcredit is the interest rate on all the loans is around just 16%. When I say the 16%, when you compare this with the conventional banks which can offer 16%, but how is this success? The 16% is all it says, just because the repayment of this interest is just 96%, which gives immense success of the microcredit. This is just because of the group pressure, the self-interest, and the borrowers from the motivation. Grameen Bank. Grameen. Grameen means rural or a village. Basically, this bank is for the poor people from a village. And the motive of the bank says that banking for the poor. This is purely a bank for the poor people. And this was originated in the year 1976 by world-renowned personality Dr. Muhammad Yunus in a small village in Bangladesh. And 95% of the total equity is owned by poor people, which gives immense to say that this bank is for poor people. And we can see the statistics here. Out of 7.8 million borrowers, 97% are women. As I've already earlier said that when during the start the group is formed, it is mainly the 5 women. Because maybe there may be a question, because when you educate one woman, you educate the whole society. This is the reason why there is 97% of women. And there are 2,548 branches over 84,006 villages. And the total staff is nearly about 24,000. And the most significant is net sum of loan distributed by Grameen Bank since the inception is around 7.8 billion US dollars. When I say this, initially when the bank was started, Dr. Muhammad Yunus had just $27 in his hand. So he started with, and now after 3 decades, it's around 7.8 billion US dollars, which gives the success of the Grameen Bank. And the most important, out of 7.8 billion US dollars, nearly about 7 billion US dollars has been repaid. And this says 96% of the repayment rate is successful here. And now, 68% of the families of Grameen are now above the poverty line. This gives an immense success rate for the Grameen Bank, which makes them proud. And this instrumental strategy by Dr. Muhammad Yunus and the Grameen Bank made them win the Nobel Prize in the year 2006. Now, as my colleague said that we are trying to implement this in the Africa. It is very essential to know that how African culture is going to accept this microcredit. To know more on that, please let me welcome my colleague Irfan, who will speak more on cultural analysis.